Greetings, MelVee International family. Wherever I find you, I'm so delighted you chose to watch this video. I don't know what has brought you here, but my sense is that you have gone through or are currently going through or anticipate that you might go through a season of grief, a period when you will be severely tested. You will go through a moment of anguish. You will go through mourning. You will lose a loved one. You will lose a job, or you've lost a job. Your marriage is breaking down. Perhaps your child or husband or someone has died in your life. Maybe it's a miscarriage you have had. Whatever it is, I believe you came here because you're looking for solutions, for practical advice, how to cope and understand God's plan for your life, regardless of the pain that's surrounding you. So I don't know what it is, my friends. I don't want you to go away. I have with me an expert, a professional counseling psychology expert, who's going to share with us her thoughts, her understanding. She has written widely. She has a book that I have here, Emotional Wound Healing, dealing with those things that hurt us internally. How do we recover, or do we ever recover from devastation? I'm talking about Dr. Mabel Hadebe Rapiti. Greetings, Doc, and welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be with you today.
Yes.
And thank you for inviting me.
I'm so privileged because I know not only will we hear from the best, but our viewers out there will be blessed to know there is hope beyond the grief and the pain they're going through. Now, when you are not in studio like we are or teaching, what do you spend your days doing? Let me maybe ask our viewers to just get to know what's your average day, week like in a week?
In a week, I like reading.
Okay.
Well, I do housework, and then from there I do reading.
All right.
And then I do my consulting work.
All right.
I do consult clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
So clients come to you with what problems do they bring that you see very common?
Mostly,
yes,
it's family problems.
Okay.
Marital problems, and work-related problems.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Here and there, it's those with children who are problematic,
Yes.
like
yes.
who are on drugs and they have to be sent to rehab and all that. But the majority is relationship problems.
Yes. Now, in South Africa, of course, we have epidemics of these grief-causing triggers, as I can call them. Things that break down relationships and cause people to live a life full of pain, sorrow, and emotional storms. Now, when I was reading, and from my experience, there are 10 areas that I looked at. And I saw that many of the griefs are coming from these top 10. But I kept looking and I was saying, what is really behind all this pain and sorrow and grief and emotional breakdown that we are seeing? Surely there must be a reason behind it.
Yeah.
And I realized that the Bible says, for all have sinned and have come short of the glory of God. And because of that, sin was allowed to come in. And with sin, death is the result. So we see a lot of death physically. We see death mentally. We see death even emotionally. Now, there are top 10. Correct me if my list is right. And if these are some of the issues you're seeing.
Yeah.
Loss of a loved one, that's a problem.
Yes.
It also says a loved one is seriously ill. So illness is a major challenge. We also know that loss of a job, like you mentioned. People come to you because they've lost a job, there are bills to be paid, the life needs to go on and they can't cope with that stress. There's loss of financial stability, which may be related to the loss of a job or a business. It could be a woman who has had a miscarriage. She was expecting this baby, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Divorce, like you mentioned, or just general relational relationships breaking down.
Yeah.
It could be between you and your child, or you and your parents, you and your siblings. They also say retirement can be a source of pain and grief and emotional storms. Loss of a friendship, and then obviously loss of safety after a traumatic event. Do these resonate with some of the many things you possibly might be seeing in your professional day-to-day counseling life?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It's just that some of them are more common and others less common.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the main ones. Correct me if I listed this wrongly. I feel there are 4 top triggers that then ripple to other areas of life. And I want to get your professional expertise here. I'm taking this from my experience as an elder, as someone who's counseled young people, and some married couples here and there, and someone who's relating with hundreds and thousands of people across the world that contact us via chat rooms and SMS and WhatsApp, prayer requests. And when I look at all those factors, I listed 4 main problems. The first one I saw was sickness. And then the second one was death. The third one was job loss. And obviously, divorce is part of that mix. 4 top ones. You agree?
Yes, I do agree. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I noted was that there are a couple of triggers. And I wanted you to give me your opinion on this, your professional opinion for our people out there, because there are always these views that pain by itself will go away faster if you ignore it. Just ignore it. You have a headache, or maybe you've got just your heart is aching. Ignore it, it will go away. Is that true?
How will it go away when you ignore it? How will it?
Okay.
I don't believe it's true. I don't believe it's true.
All right.
And going away, it's probably delaying the process of dealing with it.
All right.
Yeah. It's more like parking it somewhere and pretending it is not there.
All right.
But because it is parked somewhere,
yes,
at some stage it will resurface, or it will come up, probably unexpectedly.
All right.
And you'll have to deal with it. Yeah.
So there's no real healing for something that you've ignored.
No.
All right.
No.
It delays the healing.
It delays the healing.
In fact, it makes it even more complicated.
Yes.
There's this thing I read that's called complicated grief.
Yes.
You want to share with us a little bit about that?
Yes. With complicated grieving, it's more like what we are saying.
Yeah.
Where probably with complicated grieving, you get stuck at a particular stage of grieving.
All right.
Maybe it's when you decide, no, I want to play brave and ignore the grieving.
Yeah.
Probably at a stage of anger or whatever stage, and then you pack it, and then you impress everybody, and then you say, hey, you are very strong. So and so is very strong, you know.
Yeah.
And instead of he's consoling us, and yet you have parked it.
All right.
And then after some time, then you go back to it.
Yeah, you fall back.
And then you show all signs of grieving. You also, at a time when people are expecting you to be much better.
Yeah.
And then you are now crying. You are doing all the things that were happening maybe months earlier.
Yeah.
Or things that should have happened last year. And it's this year, and then you are doing all those things.
Yeah.
Now you are grieving. Belated grieving. You are bringing it. In fact, at times you don't even bring it. It comes on its own.
It's like you're carrying it on you already. Even your attitude, your outlook in life, how you present to people. Yeah. You may be ignoring it and feeling brave, but when it comes, or when your mind crosses that nerve pathway of the thought, you actually break down literally.
Yes.
And so there's nothing like ignoring pain.
No, I don't believe that.
All right.
I don't believe that.
So to our viewers out there, the expert is saying, when you feel the pain, don't pack it. Address it immediately. Seek for help. We'll talk about how to then get help to deal with these issues. The second myth I found, this one is very interesting. It says it's important to be strong in the face of loss. You know, as an African man, I can say we grew up best celebrity, you know, indoda ikhale. No. A man must not cry. Be brave, be strong. What is the impact of that to healing and grief management and coping?
This is so unfair. This is so unfair. And it's not natural.
Okay.
It's not natural because when you have to experience that emotion, you have to experience it.
Yeah.
Well, these emotions were created by God. They are not just strange, they're created by God.
Yeah.
And when it is time to experience
Yeah.
those emotions, you have to experience them.
Yeah.
You do not have to deny them. And when you deny them, you do that at your own peril.
Yes.
You are more like a person who's parking. Who's
that
parking
grief and that pain.
Parking the pain, yes.
Yeah.
Because you have to impress people. So those men who are really trying to be strong, inwardly, they are bleeding. They are bleeding. And they consequently take longer to heal.
Yes.
Because they are just not dealing with it.
Yeah.
They're not even using the available resources because they have to pretend to be brave. They have to pretend. They actually want to show people that they don't even need help.
Yes.
Yeah. They won't even go for help when they need it.
Exactly. Which is actually contrary to what we are saying, because our hope to our viewers is you will get help. You will not delay your healing. Things are going to happen in life. The doctor is saying, don't pretend everything is fine. Deal with the pain. And to our men out there, let me speak as a man as well. There's nothing that says you're weak when you cry.
Yeah.
Those tears were put there by God.
Yes.
And He knows sometimes when things are not clear and you cry, it helps to clear your sight and to really recover. And in fact, when you do it in the presence of your family, it actually can help them to understand what you're going through.
Yes.
I remember last year, 2019, we dealt with the death of my father. It was a very short illness. He went down quickly. But we almost could see this is not going to give him a break. I thought I was strong and I was going to be tough and, be strong for everyone. But I could not control it. I just had to let go. And I can tell you, after that, I was well.
Which is good. Which was good.
Yeah, I was well. And I had my kids talking and saying, we were shocked to see you cry. We didn't know you could cry. And I said, no, but you understand, it's my pain and I had to express it. So putting on a brave front for the family, for me, I feel it's actually unfair for the family.
Yes.
And for yourself.
And for yourself.
Exactly. So there's nothing like be strong.
No. Give yourself permission. Even if the society is expecting you to be strong.
Yes.
Just give yourself permission and say, I want to cry.
Yes.
And cry.
Exactly.
They often say tears, they clean the soul.
That's true.
As they come out, they clean the soul.
Yes.
And you become, and in our language, we say they are therapeutic.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
If you are able to cry and you can have a good cry, you feel a little bit better after that good cry. Yeah.
It takes away the sting.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just taking it out. But here's another interesting one. This myth, I thought, maybe this one is very common in Africa because of witchcraft. They say, if you don't cry, it means you are not sorry for the loss, and therefore you are the witch.
That is very common. That is very common.
Yeah.
Especially in the black community.
Yes.
That is very common. And even those who don't believe in witchcraft, they just believe you didn't value the person who's gone. You are actually happy.
Yes.
Yeah. And then those who believe in witchcraft, they then conclude you are happy because you bewitched.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You caused
his
or her death.
Yeah.
So you are happy that, why would you cry? Because you caused it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, we then could miss out on the fact that those who find it difficult to cry actually are the ones who are facing it even more deeper
Yes.
and more painful.
Yes.
I read a story of the founder of
Yes.
3ABN, Danny Shelton, when his wife was involved in an accident. And unfortunately, she died in the automobile accident. And in this car was the child,
Okay.
their young daughter. And she survived it with a broken arm, but the mother died on the spot. So Danny then says, I struggled to share. I couldn't say the words that your mother is dead. He kept saying your mother couldn't make it, and the child kept asking, what do you mean dead? What do you mean dead? I think they shared this story during their anniversary, 36th anniversary video. And so he found it difficult to express it, but in the end he had to tell the child. And I was so fascinated when he said, the child simply said, oh, is that so? Then she never cried. And so people deal with this differently. Some cry, some don't cry. But as the child was now sharing her story, her experience, she grieved even much more deeply.
Yes.
Because she had such a strong relationship with the mother. Though she couldn't cry, but actually it impacted on her life until today. I think they were even saying she never then got to have any other very intimate relationship because of that loss. So someone may not cry, but it doesn't mean they're not feeling it.
Yes.
Yes. And I think from a psychology point of view, then as families and people, we should actually be worried when someone does not express that cleansing process of crying.
Yes.
We must then find out how are they then dealing with that grief, because everyone feels it. Yeah, very powerful.
For some people, their reaction is delayed. They cry much later.
Yes.
It's like when everybody's crying, they seem to
like
be
in a
okay.
shock, like not knowing what's
Yes,
happening.
Yes. And then when everybody is gone,
Yeah.
then they
Yeah.
begin to cry. Then the crying occurs. And unfortunately, they begin to cry when everybody is
Has
gone.
moved on.
Yeah. When people were around to offer support,
Yeah.
they were not crying.
Yeah.
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 And then for some, that would be an indication of being stuck somewhere, maybe stuck on denial.
All right.
Maybe as people are crying,
Yes.
to
yes.
this person, it really is not yet true.
It's not sinking in their
It's
minds.
not
They can't just get
sinking,
it.
Yes. It will only be later when it will really sink and when they will break down.
Yeah.
And then they break down when people are not there. So people
Yes.
live with an
Yes.
impression
Yeah.
that so-and-so did not cry, was very brave. Yet so-and-so is busy crying now
Yeah. Yeah. On their own.
on their own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I found this one also quite fascinating, related to what you've just said now, that it's a myth. Grieving should last about a year. What's your take?
I think it's a myth because, as we said earlier on, people are different.
Yeah.
People are different. We
Yeah.
grieve differently. Some take longer, some take a shorter period. And but what I can say is that the pain is much better after a year.
All right.
Much better after a year. It is not as acute as
Yeah.
the early months.
Yes.
Yes. That's why traditionally, when people wear black or whatever,
Yes.
especially women, after a year, it's only then when they do some ritual
Yes.
to
free themselves.
to free themselves because they believe she is now better.
Yes.
But
yes.
when she is still in deep grief, then she should be wearing those black
Yeah.
things and get sympathy wherever she
Yes.
goes and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a belief that women take longer to grieve, especially for their spouses,
Okay.
even for their children,
Okay.
than men. Maybe it's because women are more emotional. Yeah. And it is believed that men tend to heal earlier. And
Yes.
even when they wear those black things,
Yeah.
the men are released earlier
Okay.
than women.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even when there's remarriage, men remarry much
Yes.
earlier than
yes.
women.
Yes.
After a year, most men are ready to move on. But after a year, women are still not yet
Stuck
ready.
in the, yeah.
Yeah, they're still struggling.
In fact, now that you talk about this, I'm reminded. One young man approached me and said, I really need to heal from the death of my mother. In my mind, I thought it just happened maybe a year ago or recently. And so I said, when did your mother pass away? He says, I was 10 years old. And this man is now in his 30s. He's now married. He's got children. And immediately I realized there's no timeline that can be given. And then when you look into the circumstances, and this is something I want you to comment on to really help our African families out there. You know, when an old person dies, doesn't matter who they were, especially if they were a mother or your father, children are not allowed in that funeral space. I remember when we were growing up, when someone dies in that household, children from that household are moved away from that household to another house. They're not allowed to come here. They bring their clothes that side. And so speaking to this brother, he says, I never had closure because my mother was close to me. When she got sick, she was moved away. Right? And I remained without her. When she died, I did not know. When she was buried, no one ever told me anything. So to him, he can't have closure. And so years, decades have gone by. So maybe I want you to speak to this custom of saying as Africans, we give each other this time, and particularly talk to the issue of how to address some of these griefs that come and there are children involved. I may divorce, you may divorce with your wife, you move on, she moves on. But what about the children? How do you address this situation? I have another young lady, recently divorced, dealing with a child who breaks down and who says, I may be a child to you, but I know everything that happened, and therefore you can't hide these things from me. And they break down and they have behavioral, symptoms of grief and that sorrow and emotional pain. So children and the grief and the recovery. Your take on that and your counsel and advice.
Yeah. You are right. In the Black culture, children are often thought, they're often regarded as...
they don't have emotions.
They don't have emotions.
They wouldn't understand.
They wouldn't understand. They don't feel the loss. They're just fascinated by what is happening, the up and down of people and all that. And when they are told that so and so is late, they accept it.
Yeah.
And as a result, they are treated in a way that makes it difficult for them to deal with the loss. So they then come back to it much later in life, when they realize, hey, they then make connections and they realize, I'm missing something. I'm missing something, especially when they have people who can help them deal with that. They can trace it back to that time of loss. We take them somewhere and we just whip them away to another place until the funeral is over. They don't see anything. And meanwhile, all the things that happen, they are part of healing. Even the people who come in to see you, to talk to you, and you talk and relate what happened when the person passed away, it's healing. It's healing. The talking is healing. And the people who come there, supportive, but the kids are not there. They are somewhere, they miss that. And they even miss people talking to them about what has happened. And they just bury the pain inside. And maybe grow with the pain until it surfaces much later. For others, it comes up as depression. And as they deal with depression, then they can trace this this pain somewhere and feel this person has not grieved for the parent.
So your counsel to families and parents or guardians or relatives that are left with children, what do they need to do to help them deal with this thing so that it doesn't come up later Remember, we're talking about how long does it take, that they should heal quickly and move on with their lives. Children must, because they're developing, they'll quickly forget the event and move on. So what are some of the key advice you would give to a family that has to deal with children and there's grief, there's loss, there's divorce?
I would say they they need to be involved in the whole thing.
Okay.
You need to talk to them, explain to them what has happened, and and even be open about your feelings, how you feel,
All right.
and when you want to cry, you tell them how you feel and how they are likely to feel, or ask them how they are feeling, and ask them, find out their understanding of death.
Yes.
Because others have also myths about death, and they don't have a good understanding of death. They think this person is gone but will come back. Some are told about people who come back at night. They come back at night when you are sleeping. They'll come and talk to you, and then they'll come and console you, and you know. So you need to really clarify everything about death and make sure that you have a common understanding of death, and give them an opportunity to express their feelings.
Yes.
Give them an opportunity to cry. Tell them it's okay to cry.
Yes.
And to cry any time. They mustn't think they must only cry at night. Any time that it's permissible. And tell them that you also cry.
Yeah.
Because if they don't see you crying, they think it's wrong to cry, because
Yeah.
they've never seen you crying about this. Tell them it's okay, you also cry, but at some other time you don't feel like crying.
Yeah.
And they must remain in the house. When people come to to give support and offer condolences, they must also be there. And they must also talk to them. You ask the people that come to please talk to the children as well. And they must not simply say, hey, where are the people? The people just come in and say, where are the adults? Then they tell them to go to a particular room. They are there. Then they leave them there. They move there. They spend all the time there. Even prayers, they will pray. And they won't even check where the children are. So I would say, involve children, ask people who come to also talk to the children. And when there are prayers, call children to come. The prayers are not only for you, adults. They need the prayers as well. If possible, do arrange your children who are the age group of the children here to also come and spend time with them and do what you are doing to the adults. Talk to them, talk their language about loss and death and share whatever. But they need to be free to talk about the loss. And they need to experience what everybody is experiencing.
Now, there's this myth, this one, I even myself, sometimes I sit back and I've studied a little bit about this. I've bought some book, I've read about this one. Moving on with your life means forgetting about your loss. You know, the Bible says, forgive that you may be forgiven. I don't think there's a verse that says forgive and forget. It's not biblical.
No.
From a psychological point of view, anything that has gone through your mind, you can't delete it unless you suffered brain damage and you lose that memory.
Exactly.
So the myth is saying forget the past, or forgive and forget. Do we ever forget?
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe we forget the past.
All right.
I don't believe it. But you can make a choice of not focusing on it.
All right.
Yeah, it will be there. But if you make a choice of not focusing on it and focusing on other things, you move on. But it will still be there. It will still be there.
Yeah.
It's a matter of saying, I don't want to focus on it because then it brings sadness, and then, you know, so I will then look at other things. As we say, thorns will be there, look at the roses. Look at the roses and just feel warm. Otherwise, you will keep on grieving. And not move on. So forgetting, it is not possible. But then as you heal, or as you recover from grieving, you look at the past
Yes.
with less pain.
All right.
Yeah, you
All
will
right.
look at the past.
So it is important to measure the barometer of pain
Yes.
over time. It's a good indicator of healing.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Yeah.
When you are not healing, you look at the past with that intense pain. That intense pain. Yeah. But
Yeah.
when you are healing, you look at it and then you even talk about it
Yeah.
with less pain.
Aha.
Yeah.
Aha.
And to pretend it never happened, it's not natural.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of coping with life, it actually draws you back.
Yes.
I had an experience, perhaps if I can share, but I want us to then come to a segment where we pull out those 4 top triggers of grief and maybe give us your counsel on how to deal with them. You know, we talked about sickness, death, job loss, and then divorce. Just your thoughts on how to, for someone out there who might have experienced this, and I'm sure there are many, how do you then move on? Divorce could also mean breakdown of your relationship.
Of a relationship, yes.
Yeah. So here I am doing the work of the Lord, excited just to share my story to the viewers out there. And just to show you that you can't forget and just ignore something because it will hit you hard with life. So I get brethren who then, without mentioning names, they might be watching. I want to respect my brothers. They decide to block the pathway to this ministry. We faced a lot of that in the early days. And then I was so angry to say, but God asked me to do this thing in the time when I did not have a job. When others were saying, Happy New Year, compliments of the New Year. To me, it was complications. I had a young family, a young and beautiful wife to feed. I had a house mortgage to pay. I had a car to pay. I had all these bills. I was in South Africa. I am on a work permit. That work is finished. So by law, I'm supposed to leave and go back to my country. But there's nothing in my country. There's no jobs there. I can't even begin to talk about going back. So I have to hustle. That's the word. Hustle. And I then say to God, please clarify, what must I do? What is it that this crucible is trying to show me? And God spoke, made it clear. Long story short, he needed a ministry that would document preaching of the gospel in Africa. Just like you have many American ministries that document a lot of what the Lord is doing in America. Africa has nothing. That's how MelVee came about. We are so excited, but I'm unemployed. I don't have money. All right, I have mouths to feed. Less mouths then than now, of course, with more children. Then we finally start this ministry. Very excited. I'm a personal ministries leader in my local church. There are lots of opportunities I'm seeing. Then suddenly, there was a blockage to say, no, you can't do this here. Just to explain the issue of grief and how it can kill you.
Yeah.
I was doing my consulting here and there. The Lord was granting success here and there. My people at my church didn't even know that I'm not employed because the Lord was providing. All right. He's faithful. When he calls you to do something, he provides. And so when that happened, here's how I reacted, just to help someone out there. I decided to ignore it and then move on and do other churches and go to other places and other countries. And the Lord was opening different doors here and there because it's his work. He wants it done. And I had this fire that was in me that I wanted to share and build this ministry, though I'm not even a media person. I'm just a public health psychology major before public health management. I'm not even a media person.
Yeah.
So it hit me hard, but I put it inside me and I ignored it. You know how it hit me? Months later. Chest pains.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm getting anxious. Whenever we talk about this thing, my blood boils inside me. And I remember the people who hurt me. I went to the doctor. tested. He said, no, I have to monitor your blood pressure. It's too high. Wear this thing. So they put the machine on me. I walked around with it for a few days. I come back, the doctor says, my friend, you could be dying anytime. By that time, I had another job. I was now working for another agency. So money, job, and whatever was not a problem. But this blood pressure was skyrocketing. And the doctor said, what is the problem? You didn't have blood pressure during your non-employment period. You are employed now, so what has changed? What is the problem? It took me reflecting back to realize, what is it that really is making me so bitter and angry? Only to discover it's something I neglected to address.
Oh.
All right? And it was physically now making me sick. It was triggering a disease in me. So I had to deal with it. The best way I did. Don't ask me what I did, but the common thing I did was I had to forgive whoever had caused whatever pain. And I said, Lord, it's your work. I can't do it angry. I have to do it afresh. And maybe that explains why in our first years we struggled to get the ministry growing, because you can never build a ministry on anger.
Yes.
And trying to prove a point to someone. It is only at that point that God released so many other blessings. And here we are today. We're talking about grief. But the point I wanted to share with the viewer out there, and perhaps as we discuss, is you don't forget what happened.
Yeah.
If you try to forget it, it will come back to haunt you. So the best way is to acknowledge the memory. All right. And I like the way you put it to say, don't dwell on the memory, because that it's like hurting yourself again. Don't replay the story to someone else with all the gory details. It hurts you. But over time, as you forgive and you move on with your life, the pain goes away. I mean, I can talk about it now and I can laugh about it. You know, even if the people involved can call me today, I'll laugh about it. But one thing I would not forget is the lesson that I learned from the grief. But I want us now to pick one by one with your input. It was just me sharing my story with you and to the viewers out there. 4 main triggers. And I want just to hear from you your words of advice and words of wisdom. You discover you have a life-threatening disease. You are sick, the doctor says it's cancer or whatever it is. You're going to die soon. You get into those stages of grief, shock, maybe denial. All right. How would you advise someone who's just discovered they're dealing with this terminal issue? What are the words you would give of comfort and guidance?
Before I get there, I would like to go back to what you have been sharing with us.
All right.
To relate something that relates to grief resulting from job frustration.
Yes.
Job frustration.
Yes.
I read about a lady, Adelaide Pocket, I think it's Adelaide Pocket, the lady who compiled the hymn, Have Thine Own Way, Lord.
Yes.
Apparently, this lady had plans to come to Africa.
All right.
To do missionary work in Africa. Raised funds and did this and that and that and that. She was really looking forward to coming to Africa. But somehow the plans fell flat.
Wow.
Whether there was sabotage or whatever, but the plans fell flat. She could not come. Then she had all the negative feelings, anger, disappointment, bitterness, and she was even angry, even with God.
Wow.
How can God, I want to go and work for you, but how can you allow this?
Yeah.
And then she attended a prayer meeting of some ladies.
Yes.
And then there was an old lady there who was praying, who was saying, Lord, we have all these prayer requests, but I have this one. This one that I'm asking you. I'm asking you, Lord, to do whatever you want to do with us.
Okay.
Do whatever you want to do with us. Let your will be done in our lives. Let us stop to fight for this and that and that and that. Let's allow you to do. And for Adelaide, it was a bit funny. Let's not worry. Let's just allow you to do whatever.
Yeah.
So later on, maybe at home, she contemplated on this and said, hey, you know, that prayer, it was very insightful because God is in control of everything. God knows everything. God
Yes.
knows our future. God knows this.
Yes.
At times, He may not allow certain things for certain reasons. And because we don't know, we just get so angry and caught up. And then she decided, no, I'm not gonna worry about this now.
Yes.
I'm not gonna be angry. I'm going to accept the situation as is. And I am also going to pray what that old lady, the prayer of that old lady.
Yeah.
And then she then compiled this song.
Have thine own way.
Have thine own way, Lord. Have thine own way. I'm the potter.
You are the I am the clay. You are the potter. Yes.
You know better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take me and mold me.
Yes. So I'm just thinking that for some frustrations, job frustrations and all that.
Ministry and job frustrations.
Yes. Your connection and your reliance in God can help you cope with the situation.
Absolutely.
And can give you peace of mind.
Absolutely.
Because you simply say, God knows everything, understands everything.
Absolutely.
Why doors are closed here, He knows better. He will open some doors somewhere, some other time.
Yeah. But just to also add, for me, in my experience, some of the words that carried me during those dark periods, and there are many seasons, this is just one of them. It is friends who would call and say, we are aware this is what's happening, but we are humbled to see this happening. And they would pray with you. I can tell you there are days when I literally cried after certain phone calls. Many experiences. So I want to say to some viewers out there and to family members, when you get a wind that something is happening in someone's life, the best way to support them and help them to cope is just maybe a pat on the back, maybe a phone call to just say, my friend, I am praying with you. I am aware, or even offer whatever physical help that you can give. It's very important. But let's go back to the other trigger. This one is a big one. We're dealing with COVID. We're dealing with cancer. We're dealing with HIV. We're dealing with TB, internal, lung, all the types of colon cancers, and you name it. Diseases that can take us away. When you discover there's a sickness in the family, it can be a source of massive shock and even grief to know that this person is going away. And I shared this story a few weeks ago. I lived with my mother-in-law for a year. She came walking and we literally saw her battling cancer for a full year. Until the very day she closed her eyes, I was right next to her. Even the day she stopped talking. Very difficult period. What is some of the counsel that you give to families out there on how to cope with that phase of, because there's dying, then there's death. How do you cope with that phase? And what is some of the counsel you want to give us?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Dealing with that is very similar to dealing with death.
Okay.
It's not yet death, but it's almost, Actually, with some, you see death coming. So you experience anticipatory grief. So you begin to grieve when you deal with a sick person, especially a very sick person. Yeah, you begin to grieve. So you go through all the grieving emotions and processes.
It's a roller coaster.
Yes. So what is important is to understand that the situation can cause a variety of emotions and accept those emotions and live with them. Especially initially, it will be shock. Let me say, because it's like grieving or death.
Yeah.
It will be denial.
Yes.
Denial, shock, numbness, and anger and depression and all those
And you'll be
things.
asking all the whys.
You ask
Why
all the
him or
whys.
her?
Yes.
Why me?
Yes.
Why now?
Yes.
Why this?
Why this?
Why not that?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And in trying to answer those questions, some people who believe in witchcraft will begin to blame somebody.
Yes.
It is because of somebody. It is because of somebody. And then they'll begin to hate us, to deal with the emotions that they're experiencing
Yeah.
at that time. So it's important for you, when you are there, to accept those emotions and and to deal with them. If it is shock, deal with it in a sense that
Yeah.
give yourself time to get used to what is happening,
Yes.
and it's more mental work, cognitive
Yes.
work. You have to be thinking
Yes.
differently about the whole thing. You have to realize that you are not the only one. You are not the first person.
Yes.
And and perhaps the person might, it might be obvious that it's terminal.
Yes.
And then you then prepare yourself for that and all that. Then in dealing with those
Yeah.
emotions, let's say it's anger, sadness, depression.
Yeah.
If you are a Christian, I think the starting point would be just prayer.
Prayer.
Would
Yes.
just be prayer.
Yes.
Even people who will be coming to see this sick person will just be bringing prayer.
Yes.
So they bring prayer.
Yes.
You remain with prayer. That is the thing that will give you sanity.
Yes.
Because you are just handing everything to the Almighty, the person who knows everything. A great physician.
Yeah.
If there's healing to be done, the great physician knows
Yes.
what needs to be done.
Yes.
So if you just hand everything to then you will have peace of mind. And as the verse, First Peter say, as the verse says,
Yeah.
cast all your burdens because He cares. You just tell the Lord, here is a situation I cannot handle.
Yes.
It's very painful to see my mother in this condition.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what to do. You will feel better.
Yes.
Because if you offload, you lessen the heaviness of your burden.
All right.
And you cry to Him. You cry to Him. If you have to cry, cry.
Yeah.
Cry. And cry even to God and in your prayers.
Yes.
So faith also goes a long way, to just believe, to believe whatever.
Yeah.
He knows what needs to be done. He knows faith. I just trust you. I just trust you, God. You believe everything.
Absolutely.
You then attend to your thinking patterns.
Yeah.
You attend to your thinking patterns. You try to look for positives, as I often say.
Yes.
Look for positive. The person is very ill, but there are positives. Some of the positives would be to look at the life history of this person.
The experiences you've had
The
together.
experiences you have had together.
The things they have taught you.
And they've taught you.
The things they have done.
Yes.
The fun moments you had.
Yes, and you can discuss that and talk with this person. And you can even laugh.
Yes.
Hey, do you remember, Mom? Do you remember when so?
Yeah.
You can even laugh.
Yeah.
And that helps you cope with the pain.
Yeah.
And that also helps the sick person also cope with the pain.
But also the sick person can help those who are caring for them. That's also one way of helping the family.
Yes.
When you really feel this is taking me out, it is important. Because one of the most cherished memories I have of the departed beloved parents of mine and in-laws is those moments they called me aside and said, I may not be there tomorrow. I want you to know 1, 2, 3. Those words are so powerful. Those words are therapeutic. In fact, there are moments in places where I met with them that for me, they're almost like monuments that I go through to remember that moment when I sat here or we did this. So even as a sick person, when you know this is taking me out, don't become like a broken person, a tearful person. Be strong and be courageous. And strengthen those that remain. So that when you are gone, they will hold on to those words of comfort you gave them. In our modern world, we also say, make your will while you're still alive. I mean, look at, is it that king who was told, your days are now few, please set your house in order because you're going to die. All right, so God even says, start preparing for the days when you will not be there. So there is something that the sick person can do to help those around them to cope.
Yes.
And there are so many instances I can point to when my father was sick and when my mother-in-law was with us here. And you look back and you reminisce. Even my father-in-law who died many years ago, we remember his statements. You know, he would joke and say, I don't die easily.
Yeah.
I'm a tough man. You know, and in Shona they say, say, I don't run to my death. I know I take time. You know, we remember those. And sometimes you would say, you will miss me when I'm gone. Enjoy me now. You know? So those statements, we remember them now, even though they are gone. So even the sick person can help. Thank you for those words. Now, there's another loss we talked about here. This is now death. The person is gone. So they've been sick. Now they are gone. There are coping strategies we can use to now move on with our lives. You know, I was reflecting as we were preparing this program, and I was saying, and I know you write it here, in one of your chapters on coping with the death of a loved one. You talk about a child grieving and all of that. Did you know that as a church we have a doctrine on the state of the dead? You know, when people die, what state are they in? But we don't have a doctrine on the state of the bereaved. I just think, so we're actually teaching more people more about what happens when they are dead. But what about what happens for those who are remaining and are alive and are dealing with it? The Bible is not silent on that. It's not silent on how we should live our lives after this one is gone. You know, and I thought maybe that it's time for us to start writing another doctrine on the state of the living. That know that they will die.
They will die.
And what they ought to. I just thought that's an interesting one. But when someone is dead, what are some of the things you counsel families and individuals to look into and handle as they move on with their lives?
Yeah, what is important is to deal with their feelings, because
yes,
what is uppermost is just the feelings.
Yeah.
The person is dead and we are sad, we are crying, we are, all those, it's just to deal with the feelings.
Yeah.
And
Maybe let me interrupt you there.
Yeah.
You talk about feelings.
Yes.
You write about it here and you say the reality of pain of death.
Yes.
And you say death is a sad fact of life. It comes in times and in many forms, and it is often an unwelcome guest and is always accompanied by sorrow, emotional pain, and grief. Losing a loved one is one of the most difficult experiences to cope with in life, whether it is a parent, a spouse, a child, a sibling, or a close friend. So dealing with emotions is very important.
And those emotions, they tend to even cloud your thinking. I often say to people who are grieving, around that time they shouldn't make major decisions. Major decisions like
very important.
Moving, because my husband is, I'm selling the house, I'm moving. They shouldn't make major decisions because the thinking is not very clear.
Yes.
They should wait for some time until the emotions are down and the thinking is clearer, and the decisions that are made may be more rational. Moving, changing schools for the children, and changing jobs. They tend to just complicate the grieving process. Remain where you are. Be in your usual surroundings. Deal with your grief there. When you are feeling much better, then you can think of moving.
In the case of a death where there was a murder in that house, and you watched someone bleed in that house, how do you cope with that? Because the murder scene is gone. Now you're left with memories of this person who died in this house. What would be your recommendation there?
if there is a possibility of moving, I would recommend moving. Yeah. But not permanently. I would say move until the person feels better, until the person
Go to another
heals.
place somewhere.
Yes, then a person can come back.
Mm.
But if a person feels, no, when I move, I establish myself somewhere,
Yeah.
I think it's okay because of what normally happens with trauma. You know, flashbacks and all those, they complicate the grieving process. And even when the person has healed, a person keeps on thinking what happened might happen again.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. But after a very long time, when the person has healed, those fears and whatever would have subsided, and the person may be able to live in that very environment.
Yes.
But initially, I would encourage them, if possible. But if not possible, I would say they need to seek help to cope with the situation, to accept it. Yeah, because it is possible to accept it. To accept it and cope with it, and especially if people are Christians, it's very it's easier.
Yes,
it's easier.
Yeah.
But when they're not Christians, it's more difficult because witchcraft and what they call spooks. Spooks and all those things.
Voodoo and juju and all of these things.
Yeah, the dead person will come at night and will strangle us.
Wow.
So they have all those beliefs, and they'll find it difficult to stay in that house. Yeah. I know of people who have really moved, they sold the house. Yeah. But you can understand because of the memory. Yeah. But if it is not possible, you can't deal with your memory. The memory cannot control you.
Exactly. You have to control it.
You have to control it, At the time when you are still hurting and your thinking is foggy, But later, you can. You can control your memory. But if it's difficult, seek help.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially if you experience a post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes. I want to talk about the fourth last one, the big one of the triggers of grief, sorrow, and pain: divorce or relational breakdown. And I saw in your book, Emotional Wound Healing, How to Recover from Emotional Devastation, Chapter 10, Healing After Infidelity or Cheating. Again, I see you're talking about the pain of cheating and infidelity. Someone might have gone through this. Someone might still be dealing with that storm that comes from being betrayed, or being the one who betrayed, or being the betrayed. All right. And for me, my experience is that this is perhaps one of the most terrible pains that could be worse than death, in my estimation. Because with death, you know where your loved one is. But divorce and dealing with infidelity means there is still potential for that person to hurt you again. I mean, if you divorce and there are children, it doesn't mean this person is now completely out of your way. All right? And I always feel whenever they come back and they're talking about children, there will always be something that links you to that person. And therefore, every time you relate to them, depending on how you divorced, and if it was a nasty divorce and a painful one with infidelity involved, so you're not dealing with just divorce, you're dealing with many other triggers. So it can be a convoluted storm that results in you feeling so much pain. I even read they talk about a broken heart syndrome, which is actually like a heart attack. But it is not heart attack. It is just the pain that your heart has felt. Now, for me, like I said, it's worse than death because this is your moving grave that can still hurt you. Whereas the death of someone you know, they are lying there, it is finished. They're not going to hurt me again. But this one has potential to come back and hurt you. So how do you deal with such a storm and such grief that comes from divorce and relational breakdown? And I'm talking about the married, but there could also be young people
Yes.
This boyfriend, this girlfriend was the girl or boy of your dream. You were set to wed, and then things just happened. You discovered things that then just caused everything to collapse. You suffer the same grief. So how do you recover? How do you deal with it?
I want to agree with you, as you are saying, at times it seems like it's worse than death. Especially when you look at things that help in recovery.
Yeah.
With death, recovery begins when people come and support you. Before the burial,
yeah.
people are coming and the phone calls, and you just get support left and right with death. But with divorce, nobody. Even those who know,
Yeah.
they don't think you need support. They don't think you need support. Meanwhile, you are grieving like the one who has lost a partner through death. So it becomes very difficult from the onset.
Yeah.
From the onset.
Yeah.
But what is important is to acknowledge what has happened. Acknowledge what has happened. And it has happened. Acknowledge it. And tell yourself you have to look into the future. You have to look into the future. There are quite a number of things that you can do that helps in promoting healing.
Yeah.
Because you also deal with all those feelings. The one grieving for the death of a spouse is dealing with anger, resentment, anger, depression, and bargaining and all that.
Yeah.
You also deal with all those. You go through all those stages. And as you go through all those stages, then you also need to use the tools that are used by those who are grieving for the death of their spouses, like prayer, faith, looking on the positives of your loss, and just to make your mind, to make your mind, to lessen the burden, the emotional burden. Develop a grateful heart. So as those who have lost their spouses through death, they console themselves by looking at the positives. Remember, in death, when we come, when we talk about the late one, we say all the positives. Funeral, eulogy, it's positives. And it's not that this person was an angel.
No.
But we have to focus on the positives because we want to help the family and those who are grieving to feel better. So focusing on the positives is healing. So even with divorce, focusing on the positives is important. The people are not there to help you focus on the positives. But you and your family, you can begin to focus on the family, on the positives. Though you are bleeding or you are crying, but you can sit down and list all the things that were good in your marriage. Why you chose that person in the first place. What was good with that person before the changes. And I mean, there would be good times before the bad times. So you can just focus on those bad times, list them, write them, put them up there, and help the children also to write their own. In that way, you are focusing on the positives and you are lessening the emotional pain. Forgiveness is important. You ahead. The very fact that there is divorce, it means something that hurts you happened, and you need to work on forgiveness. For some people, they say it's not easy to forgive before you heal. You must heal first before you forgive. How can I forgive? I'm very angry. I'm very angry. I'm not going to pretend. You know.
You're venting out.
Yes, but if you believe it is healing, you can work on it. In fact,
I like it when you write here in one of your books, ask for forgiveness. Taking the route of forgiveness promotes emotional recovery and relieves one of feelings of anger and bitterness. So actually forgiveness is the solution to that very anger that you're feeling, that's eating you away.
So you need to work on that. But then if there's still this anger and you want to work on this anger, you want to move, but this anger is blocking you, then you deal with this anger. Journaling helps.
All right.
Journaling helps. You just pour down your feelings, your angry feelings on paper.
Yes.
Every day you just write down. Each time you feel very angry, you just write down what makes you angry about this person. As you do that every day,
yes,
it's like you are cleansing. You are taking it, decreasing the anger in your system.
Yes.
And you write it down. And as the anger subsides, then it's easy to forgive and all that. The other issues in divorce. The issues is children.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Children,
helping children understand.
Helping children understand. You start before even the divorce itself.
Yes.
Because they just pick it up that the relationship is just going haywire.
Yeah.
So when you are contemplating to separate, you then have a meeting. A meeting and discuss the issues and assure them that it's because you are finding it difficult to understand each other and to continue.
Yeah.
But they did not contribute to your relationship problem because children tend to feel guilty. They often think they contributed in one way or another. And they find it difficult to cope with the divorce because of the feelings that they have.
For both parents,
Yes, but if they are clarified before the divorce itself, it makes it easier for them to view it differently.
Yes.
And not feel as bad as they would if you did not discuss. Some parents, they just think it's their own thing. Then they divorce. All what children see, it's just the bad emotions. You know, you are very angry, that one is very angry, that's all they see, and it really disturbs them seriously.
Yeah.
But if you talk to them, you don't badmouth the spouse because you are angry with this person. You just want this person to go away. But the person remains a parent.
Yes.
Remains a parent. And the more you are angry with this person, the more they feel guilty because they love this person.
Yes.
And they want to be as angry as you are, but they can't because of the relationship.
Yeah.
So they are just lost. They don't know what to do. So if you try not to badmouth the parent, you just simply say you are angry, and they know why you are angry because they see some of the things. But you don't say he's a bad person, he's a crook, he's a criminal, he's a what. You avoid the labels.
Yes.
You just concentrate on the behavior that they see and just talk about the unacceptable behavior that you find it difficult to cope with. And you, if possible, try to have a working relationship as parents for the sake of the children.
All right.
Some people believe that divorce is divorce. That I don't want to have anything to do with that
Cut the umbilical cord, cut any links. You are there, I'm here, it's us and them.
Yes, and if the parent wants to see the children, the visitation things,
it's always an issue.
Somebody is so angry to make it difficult. Do take the interest of the children at heart. And make sure that you... whatever you do, you consider them.
Yes.
Even it's something that you don't like, but for the sake of the children, you do it. And make sure that you don't break the bond between the child and the parent. Unless if that parent is a criminal. Pedophile or doing funny things. But if it's not that, you can keep away, but make the child bond with that parent.
Great. Thank you so much. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on, but I only selected 4 main ones. And I really appreciate your sharing those thoughts with us. But my take-home message as we wrap up, and really just drawing from what you have said, as long as we are born in this world, grief, sorrow, pain is part of our day-to-day life. Sometimes it happens without even us thinking about it. It just comes. We don't plan it. Sometimes, yes, it comes because of our foolish decisions. And we realize that once the problem comes, you cannot reset yourself to before the problem. Because any grievous, painful, sorrowful event changes you. It changes, I'm sure, even your DNA.
Yeah.
You don't become the same person as before. And therefore, one needs to understand that you are part of a changing globe. And it is important to be well informed, not to dwell on the myths, because those myths will disrupt your healing and recovery and moving on process. And yes, you will remain with the scars, but they're no longer painful. And I think, like in the medical sector, the biggest outcome that any doctor anywhere is looking for is minimizing pain. All right? That's what it is. And I'm seeing that in all of these processes, whether it's in sickness, death, job loss, divorce, and breakdown, focus on that pain and deal with it. Don't leave it for long. And obviously, it may be that you go through different rounds of these experiences. One thing I've learned is that the Bible is very powerful in counseling us. This is where now the worldview and our faith comes in. You write a lot about this in the book. I think you have a chapter actually on the Bible being a book for healing of nations. But I want to conclude by also saying, when you look at God's plan for our grief, He uses it to perfect us. That's Romans chapter 5. Who are these who stand before God? These are they who came out of great tribulation, and they washed their robes in the blood. So when tribulation comes, it forces us to cleanse our characters and to reflect on our mistakes, what we did wrong, ask for forgiveness, and restart afresh. But also the Bible says we shall get to heaven. Revelation 21 verse 4. And God shall wipe away all their tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor the crying, neither shall there be any more pain. There comes that word again. For the former things are passed away. God is promising that this grief, this sorrow, this pain, this crying is going to end one day. And that's the great hope that as Christians out there, as believers and children of God, we hold on to. And that's the hope we want to give to the world. That there is a new day that's coming. And so, Doctor, I want to thank you so much. I don't know if there are any parting words you want to share with us before we close.
What I want to say is that what happens to us as people is not important, but what is important is how we react to it.
Yes.
How we interpret it and how we react to it. So if we have a biblical or Christian worldview, it will help us to interpret our losses and grief and react differently and react with hope. The hope that you are talking about. The hope helps to make the current pain more bearable. So if we hope for that day, the current pain will be more bearable.
It cannot. If Paul even says we cannot compare our present sufferings with the glory that shall be revealed in us. So we fight on. He even says nothing can separate us. Be it death, be it grief, be it sorrow, be it whatever. He says in all these things we are more than conquerors through Him who died for us. So thank you so much.
So true.
That is powerful. To our viewers out there, this is a session I'm hoping has helped you. If you still need professional help, I'm sure we can link you up to the relevant professionals. You can get in touch with Dr. Rapitsi. She'll be able to help you and to counsel you. And most importantly, she's already put her thoughts and her plans in books that can help you. So get in touch with us, get in touch with her. We'll leave your comments in the description below. You'll be able to get support from her and even read some of the guidelines that she has. God bless you. Remember to subscribe to this channel and all the best.